Yeah. Va? Ja, jag kan ta det. Ta det. Later. Vi ses sen. Hey. Well, hello there. Who's online? Who's that? Hello, Bedlam. Oh, man. Okay. Just warming up this. Oh my god. Why is it so laggy? I'm gonna put some sweet tunes in the background. That's too loud. It's way too loud. This is so good. Check out this playlist, it's so good. It's too good. It's still too loud, right? Yeah. Alright. So this is what I've been working on for a little while. I want to kind of like do something, you know, like the Terminator scene when he time travels, and you see this sweet little bubble coming in, and then it kind of expands and like burns everything around it, like it cuts everything. So I was thinking it'd be interesting to do like a vertex shader that kind of like cuts everything somehow, like maybe it draws it into a buffer that the objects get cut on, you know? So you have like a time bubble that basically cut things using a texture buffer or render to target. So I just finished the chromatic aberrations. You can see like it's doing some offset on the frame buffer here. So all the pixels are moved slightly differently. Then you could get this cool effect. The problem is the refraction that you see. I can't access the frame buffer via the this node here, because I really want to do is to be able to, like before this is happening, I want to be able to get inside here. Maybe I can't. No, I can't. Just to kind of like change when it's gonna happen. So the problem here is that, as you can see, there's like this offset here. The chromatic aberration, I need to mask that out, and that's a problem. You see that? Because I need that to refract as well, but since it's happening before the refraction, I can't really do it. Or after the refraction, sorry. So it's happening late. Sorry, fuck. So that's the problem. But it's cool. It sorta, I kinda like masked it with some alpha shit, so just to kinda get away with, so it kinda like looks like it's kinda bending into, I don't know, like I wanted it to be on the edges, but it looks cooler in the center, I'd say. So you can see all my Terminators are lined up, ready for war. Yep, looking angry as hell. Alright, so I'm gonna show you, oh, yeah, that's some pixelation post-processing I've been working on, so I'll show you that later. It's pretty interesting. If you want to do like some 8-bit kind of game, you can control that. Alright, first of all, let's check out this frame buffer shit. It's this one. Nope. Here. So try to make it as tidy as possible. And yeah, it's pretty simple. So you first have to understand that to be able to do chromatic aberration, which is basically offsetting pixels in different directions. So you want to take the red channel and offset that in the frame buffer. And the frame buffer is basically what's being rendered in each pixel on the screen. So what's happening on the GPU, right? So that pixel here is looking at the object, the 3D model. And what I'm doing with this bubble here, like here you see it's normal. And when I have this chromatic aberration, it checks that pixel and then I offset its UV on the frame buffer. So offset it maybe to the right. So you can see that the blue is now offset to the right. So the blue channel is offset in the frame buffer. So I'm manipulating, I'm offsetting the current frame buffer with some direction. And you can do that easily in Unreal because you got this node, the scene color node. So basically it samples the scene color. Yeah. So you, you sample the scene color and then you can just use I just use these colors and you can RGB, right? So you need those colors. Just to make it simple. And then you can also expose as parameters, so you can access them in the frame buffer. If you do like a instance material, you can see you got these colors here, and you can choose the offset. So they're basically a float value right now. So if I choose this blue color now, and see if I add more blue to it, nothing happens. And why? Oh. Sorry. Oh shit. Alright. So you can see that I can move around depending on the float value. I can move around the chromatic aberration filter on the blue channel, which is pretty cool. It's nifty. But you can see the problem here when you have the frame buffer is you see that this blue shitty line here? That's because I offsetted the frame buffer in the y-axis, or the z-axis as in Unreal, but it's 2D, right? So it's still y, it's a texture. So the UV coordinate for the y is offset way too much now. And then you get this kind of stretchy artifacts thing, you know, happening. But in some cases it might look cool, you know? Like you can use that to do some interesting things. Like you can really get some freaky stuff going on here, which is kind of cool, I think. But let's put it back somewhere around there. In the green channel, you do the same thing. You can offset that a little bit, line it up, offset it. And yeah, and you can control shit. Sorry. So you can control the actual buffer of the refraction, and that's cool. And because I'm using just a simple Fresnel term, which is here. So this is the Fresnel function, and it's pretty cool. You can just Unreal Engine actually has this Fresnel function already built in, so I can just technically just plug this in directly in these alpha channels, alpha alerts, and I don't have to do all of this. But I think it's interesting to understand what this function actually does. And it's pretty simple, and I think it's more fun to build them from scratch, because then you can really understand the process and the workflow. And if you want, like here, this is bound to the camera, right? Because this is using the camera vector in here, and I can't access that. Let's say I wanted to use a light vector. Let's say I wanted to use a set angle. If I have like a baked scene that looks like cartoony, you know, it has some cool shading, and then I want to set a light vector in there, then I can actually, instead of using the camera based from the center out for the normal, I would use the sun direction or something. Then I get a Fresnel on the edge line where the sun is pointing at, or something like that. So you could actually do way more shit if you do it yourself, which is pretty nice. So yeah, basically I take the camera vector, which is this scene, or this camera I'm looking at right now using this viewport, and the vertex normal world space, which is basically the normals pointing outwards from the sphere, and I'm dotting it between these vectors, and using a dot product basically averages and gets the median, or how do you get it? the diagonal of these two vectors. Once you get that, you can start using a power, which is basically a good way to create like a gamma curve where you can control the curve. Like if you pinch the curve or you make it flat, it's more controlled in that way. Instead of using a multiply node, it would be just adding more strength to its shit, which is fine. You can add that later on, but you would like to have the curves. You can actually taper this gradient here. I can do an example really quick just to show you guys. So if I have a lerp, and then I add two colors. Actually, I have free color. What the hell? Okay, sorry. I could just copy these bad boys, plug them in an A and B, some nice colors, and then I just use, I'm gonna go, first I'm just not gonna use anything. I'm just gonna go straight up these three things, right? So I'm gonna copy this, plug them in here, so just to make it clear. Very simple. So now I'm just lerping these two colors and interpolator, which is the alpha in this case. It should be just called interpolator just to make more sense. It's easier. Think about that. And then I just use the dot product of the vertex normal of the mesh and the camera vector, which I'm looking at right now. And I plug that into the color, and you get a nice... Alright, I gotta disconnect this stuff first. There we go. There you go. And then you can see that I had the red in the edge on the outside, and the inside is the green one. So let's say if I had a power node here, and it's defaulted 2, it should be 1. That's when nothing happens. So now it's back to default. So if I add like, let's say 5, then it would be way tighter. You see, now you can do a lot of interesting things with this. You can fake transmission, but you don't base that on the camera, of course. You need to base that on the camera vector, like the opposite of the camera vector, so you can get the highlight happening when the light is behind the object rather than it's in front of it. Well, this is the basic term of a Fresnel, and it's really good. You can do fuzzy shading, you can do velvet shading, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Ice, dust, yeah, enchantment, if you like that stuff. But yeah, that's what it's doing right now, and adding the multiply afterwards just to kind of make it more sharp. Just make it more, like I can change the tightness of the actual tapered edge. And one interesting thing here is that Unreal Engine has this 1 minus node, which is exactly the same as a subtract -1. Just to make it clear for you guys who are using this, it's basically an inversion. So you invert everything that connects from the input, and the output would be the inverted result. So if it's a black texture coming in here, the what is going to come out is a black texture or a black output. And subtract -1 in this case, like if you put a 1 on the constant A, then it would be exactly the same thing. It's just to understand, like you can either just do 1. If you just type 1, you will instantly get highlighted on the 1 minus because it's commonly used. Yeah. And the chromatic aberration here, you got the colors, you got the scene color offset, which is offsetting each channel, and the append vector is basically not adding them, but appending them. So if you have 3 floats and you append those 3 floats, like 3 different single floats, and you append them, then you will have a float 3 output. Just like in this, it's pretty explanatory in this node here. So you got float 1, float 1, float 1, and output is float 3, which is pretty good node. You can also open it and just see what's happening. Yeah, so you have an append. Yeah, you're just basically appending all of them, and then outputting each channel separately, or as a cluster group. Yeah, if you want to use refraction, and if you want to use the chromatic aberration with scene color is required that you have the blend mode to translucent. That's really important. Otherwise, none of that effect would work. So now you got this cool bubble because of that. Yeah, that's cool. The stream is not going to be that long, so people are watching. It's probably going to end soon, but I'm going to show some other stuff too before I quit that. So this is pixelization, which is pretty interesting. And you can see that everything is jumping a lot. That's because all the pixels are hopping around, that's because I have this film grain effect, because I really wanted that James Cameron Terminator 2 look happening around in here. So I should just find that. Where is that? There we go, grain jitter. There we go. Now it's no jitter and no grainy stuff happening. So now everything is nice and still. So, how do I do this? It's pretty interesting. You can do like a blend, because it's a post-process volume. So you have like a blend. It has a blend distance, right, from the center. If I can find that, there it is. So if I put it like 0.2, you can see it's very pixely here, and the more I enter to the center, it becomes less pixely, and then pixelizes. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's open that material up. There we go. It's very simple, you see, like it's just this. But you have to make sure that the result node is set to post-process, otherwise it won't work. Because it needs to be treated as a post-process effect, a post-process material in that case. And this is where I can modulate the parameter, because I floor it. So take all the decimals and I floor it, which means I take the lowest value of that and then set it hard. And can I preview anything? Maybe I can preview. Nah, it's all just blank. That's sad. Alright, but let's show you guys how. So if I open up the instance of that, which I expose the pixel size, so that's 128, right? So I can put it to like 1K, and I got 1K resolution in this volume. You see it gets some pixelation going on here. It's pretty interesting. You can put it to 4. If you want to really censor that violence in your game. Yeah. It's pretty nifty. You can do a bunch of stuff with that. You can do like really retrofy your look if you really want that. You can make it really interesting. I kind of like it. I think it's pretty handy. It's easy, and if you do like the side-scroller game template in Unreal and just put this post-process on, it just looks so good, you know? Because you're locked camera on the 2D view from the side, and you won't get this 3D stuff, you know? Like you just get this perfectly flat 2D, but it's 3D, and you get the nice animations, and the pixelization just works flawlessly. Yeah. But it's pretty. Let's go inside here. So you have the scene texture post-process input. You have to have that node to render that effect and offset the scene with the post-processing effect. So you have the screen position, which is the UV screen coordinates of the actual render screen, of the render of each pixel. It's just the same as the frame buffer, but it's the UVs. And I mask it, so it's the U and V, just to make it clear. And using the floor, which I set the size, like I'm flooring each pixel, and I'm forcing them to be 64 units. I multiply that, and I floor that again to make sure that's like man, I forgot the word, man. Sort of like rasterizing it, I think. That's what it does. I'm not 100% sure. I'm a bit lost in my own work sometimes. Basically, it divided by itself with the floor back here. So I get these perfect edged lines between each pixel, and it becomes this. It basically creates a grid. Yeah, that's what happens. So it creates this grid, and it's based on the volume, which is great. You can even set it to the camera if you want, but it's pretty cool. So if you want to do a top-down game, 3D top-down game, you can totally do that, and using this filter and make it look like GTA 1 if you want. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's play this bit. So this is Arnold. I'm gonna show quickly. So we're working on some decal effects. So I removed the particle system, but the decal is when the blood is like dripping below the wound. Something I've been trying to get working. It sort of works, but it's kind of bad because it looks more like scratches, you know. Like I can't. If I do it like a drop, then it looks very tiled and like this. It looks too sameish. This is quite violent, so if you don't eat food while watching this. That would be my tip. I just added some big chunks in there. Yeah. We got the bubble here. Hopefully I'll make a particle effect out of this, so I can do the Terminator coming in from the future. Yeah. Chromatic aberration is pretty simple if you want to add that. You can also use that same effect and add it to the volume, so you can actually enter and do chromatic aberration depending on volume. And it's pretty handy. Unreal Engine has really powerful tools to create post-processing effects and shaders. I myself like when you do sort of like the mix, like you add a post-processing sort of effect, but on top of a mesh. So you can sort of do the same thing, but you do it on a controlled mesh. And then you can do like cool cloak shaders and like blend them into noise and a bunch of stuff like that, which is cool. My army. I haven't modeled these, so you know, I'm a technical artist, so I suck at modeling. I just like shaders and stuff like that. So I actually bought this model for $2, which is really good. For the actual modeling is pretty good, and I'm happy about it. Yeah. Oh man, I really just run down really fast. If you guys have any questions, just please type them. Like if you've missed something or if I said something too fast you don't understand, I'll try to explain. So I kind of, you know, this is, Rasmus, yeah, it's pretty simple. I just did this. I literally just put another mesh on top of another mesh. That's all. Boop. The particles. Good question. Oh my god, my folder structure is not... I'm just gonna do bullet. It's not in the same folder. There we go. Alright, so the particle system is this. Alright, so it has, so you see that all the debris is going in one direction. It's all pointing towards X, and that's important if you want it to follow the normal of the head, right? If you point it to any axis, you can point it to any axis, but you have to make sure you know which axis it points to, because then you have to say that in the blueprint when you hit the normal of the actual head. So when you hit the normal of the head, this is a blueprint of the whole Terminator face destruction-y thing, okay? Shit. Yeah, there we go. So you had break hit results. You have the impact normal, which is the vector what the normal is pointing on. So if you raycast, I do a raycast with the trace, line trace from camera. So it basically just shoots a laser from the camera center and hits any surface, any normal, any collision. And it gets that normal, and then I know the normal and a vector. This is a float 3 vector, and I use that basically everything. So I can rotate the particles. So this is a particle. So I rotate the particle, and even in here I do the same thing. Normal here. Transform. So I added like decal, the blood dripping decal effect shader and stuff like that. I basically spawn that also on the normal. and that's really important. So make sure it's pointing to X or Z or any location, so you know, so you can feed that value in there. Otherwise, the particle system is fairly simple. It's just it's just basically some sprite sheets and your basic stuff, and you got all these bits and pieces here. You can filter them pretty simply. Just if you press the S button here to show the only one. And one thing that's cool about Unreal Engine is they have the scene depth collision, which is epic. So if you use the GPU particle system, which is basically a cheaper way to simulate particles, and you can do a shit ton of them, so you can spawn a lot of them without calculating on the CPU, which is really good. Because we know NVIDIA cards and ATI cards, they're so powerful today. You can basically feed them anything, and it would just work. So this is all particles, individual particles. And a scene depth collision, it looks at the depth from the in the camera. So if you imagine this, if I was a sonar, if I had sonar vision right now, or look, if I could see like a bat, then I would see like the depth of this character's face, and that collision uses that sort of tech, right? So if I shoot, the sparks will kind of like stick on his cheek, like hit the surface down there, you know. And that's based on the scene depth, which is really interesting. Alright, now I disabled all the particles except the... So that's what that does, which is really cool. And I'm thinking of actually adding a Fresnel to his head, just to get the skin a bit more. Because I don't care. I mean, it could be PBR, you know, like I could totally do PBR, but I don't wanna... Like, I don't care, man. Like, I just want to make this scene look good, you know? I wish I could make a VR experience out of this, just to shoot a Terminator or something. It's my second time, so I'm pretty new. So, because I have so little content, because it's not supposed to be a long stream. The stream is only about showing the pixelation and the chromatic aberration with the Fresnel. Like, that was the only reason, really. But then I kind of slid back into the Terminators. Yeah, I'm planning to do more streams. I mean, the Dynasty, man, he's helping me a lot, and he's really cool, man. He inspires me to do more of this sort of stuff. I just realized, you know, like I should stream more of this shit because I have a lot of stuff to show, you know. Like I really want to. Yeah, I could upload this video. Don't worry about it. I have a channel for the same name, Stooge channel, so I could just upload there, and I'll post it on Off Topic or Art Related or something on Discord, and it'll be fine. Everybody wins. Oh, that's fine, man. No problem. Do I have anything interesting? I'm trying to look at my shit just to see if I can find anything more fun. I don't know. I don't think I have that much more in the scene. But yeah. That's pretty. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I see a lot of streams, but there's not much of that, you know, the techie shit. You know, like some people actually love that, you know, and I love that, and I know that there's some people out there that's interesting. Thinks it's interesting, like you guys. And I'm super thankful for you guys looking at this, you know, like super inspiring. I'm a noob, you know, like I never do this sort of things. I never talk about what I do. I just sit at home all alone, just drinking wine and work on my Terminator. Yeah. Yeah. And I try to get the skin shader to work as well. It's sort of fine, you know, I have some subsurface, but I sort of don't want to make it too real, because, you know, the Terminators, you know the lore about the Terminators, when they have that like organic tissue, which is not sort of organic. Yeah, man. Vine in 3D. It's the best thing. I could try to let's randomly create something cool. There's something I would really like to show. Test best names for everything. Action. Are you talking about the the T1000, the liquid metal Terminator, right? Hold on. Uno momento. Talk about this guy, right? So actually, I have that in my plan. I'm gonna try to do this morphing with the Terminators. I already have a morph target set up. I can actually just show that. I think I have a. It's not a dude or anything. It's nothing fancy. Did I import it? God damn it. Man, I really messed up my... Nah, I can't find it. No, I don't have it in here yet. Shit. Either way, but I have a morph target. You can export morph targets from Maya or anything. You use blend shapes, and I'm gonna try doing that, and then lerping into the liquid metal thing and see if I can make that work. It's gonna be hard, but I can really think the particle effects to create these Terminator holes, bad example, but this one, like that, could be perfect vertex shader particle system, like rows and like has this cool effect to it. Like you totally do that in a particle system with shaders. This is just so cool. Man, I love these movies. They're so good. Let's get back here. Mesh sequence. What exactly is that? I'm not sure what you mean. Name it test final. All right. Your wish is my command. Test final 24, how about that? This is one of my favorite nodes, guys. This is a noise node that Unreal added in the shaders, which is super, super helpful. Oh, okay, no, that's Zen 13. I wouldn't do that because if I put that in my Unreal Engine, that means I have to put in like hundreds of meshes, and that's just gonna chug my computer. I think it's easier if you had. I can explain that actually. I'm just gonna open Photoshop, just to show it. I'm gonna draw something just to show what you. So I think the key is blending, If I do. Oh shit. What kind of music is this stuff, man? Hold on. It's getting out of hand. Oh my god. Yeah, there we go. I'm back. I would try to do two positions, right? So you have the melted state and you have the non-melted state, right? So you have one and you have two. And let's do a little simple graph here. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but yes. So technically, if I would just blend between these values, it would go linear, right? You would have this boring going from like a flat puddle to a man, and then that would be really bad because it would just be a linear, boring blend, right? But let's say if I added a power node, power of 2, then you would have a curve, and then it would start looking softer. What you could do is add a third mesh, which is the in-between, that could be more interesting, like it could have another curvature to the shape of the body. So you have the third one here, or actually that would be the second one here and the third one here, like that, and then you would have a much better blend, because then you can do a lerp between the second one and then from the second one to the third one, and then you would have 3 meshes, and it would be way better than having each frame mesh being blending. It would look better, but it wouldn't be cheaper, you know, like it would be much easier to work with 3 meshes instead of a bunch of meshes. Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it depends really how you want to melt, you know what I mean? Like if it's very intricate and the mesh is very complex, like a human being, then I can imagine it's not the best solution, you know, like you have the fingers, you have the feet, you have all these intricate pieces of the man, of the body, you know, like, and it just won't look good. But let's play with this node. This is a really good node. If you're really into shaders, this is a node I would recommend. And it's called the noise. You can just do right click and then noise, and you get that one. There's a vector noise as well, which is a bit more cheaper, but it has some interesting shapes. So you can have like Voronoi. Let's see. Wow. That didn't look good. So if I put quality to like 5. Ah, right. It needs a coordinate system, I think. Am I? No. Man, let's go back to that someday. I don't want to get into it now. Yeah, look at that. I got some sweet noise. See that, guys? That's simplex noise. That's like it's pretty expensive. Like simplex noise is pretty expensive because it doesn't only do 2D. It sort of simulates the 3D effect of noise. Like you have the depth in there, you know? So it's -1 now, so it will go black there. But if I put it to 0, so I clamp the minimum to 0 instead, then I will get the sort of full range of the shape, which I want. And you can do like cloud textures and panning clouds. But the good thing about this is that I wonder if this works. It's gonna cry? No. It didn't cry. Alright, so let's let's make it a bit bigger. How about that? Nice cloud. Put it on a sphere. Everything's fine. Ooh, yeah, look at that. So if I save this, and I'll put it on my, I'll copy this ball. Put it next, I wonder what this happens if I can imagine it doesn't really work with the frame. Oh, it is actually working. That's interesting. Did not know that. Oh yeah, look at that. So, what happened is, since this is a simplex noise, it basically creates noise in 3D space, in 3-dimensional space. I wonder if I can, if I remove this position and apply, then it would be local. So it will be only local on the sphere. I'm just kidding. It doesn't really matter. It's okay. It's completely 3D. That's interesting. All right. Ignore what I said the last 5 minutes. So if you just use this noise node, and you can see it's always in. God damn, this scene is not put out for this. Let's brighten the scene up a bit. There we go. Cinematic working, you know. Cinematic working. Jesus, and pixelation coming in there. Sorry guys, I haven't set up, I'm a noob, so this is what you get. But this is really good. If I remove this, and you can see how it's moving. And this is a really good way to simulate clouds and simulate explosions. Because you get a bunch of noise overlapping in each other, which is really good. And this you can do like cool growing explosions, or clouds, but I would say explosions are the coolest in this case. So what can we do with this? How do we make it look like fire? How do we make it look like fire? Well, there is something called black body, so that's temperature. If I remember correctly, put this in here. What happens if I... Okay, there's gonna be a bunch of trial and error here now. So the temperature... I think I need to lerp first. So if I lerp this, it's like 2,000 or 5,000. There we go. So that's temperature, right? The black body is temperature. So if I feed it like 5,000 degrees, and you get this crazy, you get this free gradient of temperature colors, which is really good if you work with VFX. Oh, really? I'll check that out. Thanks for the link, son. That's really cool. Alright, so now you got this nice, really nice, fiery, colory sweetness happening right here, right? I love it. Let's make it a bit smaller, actually. Yeah, lava planet. Love me some lava planet. Alright, so now make it more fun. Let's put it in the emissive color instead. Screw the base color, man. And let's make the roughness to 1, because I don't want it to be shiny. There we go. Apply. Yeah, it does work with opacity. You actually use the same noise as a mask, you know, because it's just a float. You see, it's just black and white. So it's perfect for masking as well. I'll actually try to do that once I'm done here. Let's see how it looks. Ooh, fireball. That's cool. So you can animate, if you animate this in a particle system, like if you move it in the z-axis, then you will get this cool fume-looking explosion-y thing happening. Hold on a second. Give me a sec. I got something for you. Yeah. This is an example I did way back. So this is the same tech, same way, just to do like cartoony voxel procedural explosions. It's pretty cool. So that's the same way. It's exactly the same thing. And you add like some streaks in there and make it look really cool and cartoony. Take one of those. Oh yeah, and then you add a little bit of pixelation in there, and damn, you got something. Yeah, let's do that. Let's fucking freestyle this shit. Damn, and so now if I move this, I can't even see the... Okay, I can't see anything. Oh my god. Can't even see the gizmos, man. They're all pixelated. Yeah. Alright. Let's go back to the shader. Let's do something fun with this. Alright, so if let's say we want to add some more... Man, how... Is this... Okay, that's totally dense enough for me, I think. Maybe not. Let's find out. Alright, let's put the same mask. We can use this float vector. This is just a float. It's just a mask. And just put it in world position offset. What will happen? I don't know. Alright, we got something. We got something happening here. So let's do a multiply. So I wanna multiply this now with itself, like 2 times maybe. Alright, so now you start to see some cool, interesting shapes happening here. Let's do 10. Oh my god. Alright. Alright, so now you see a problem here. Okay, so the world position offset, it seems that if I feed in a solid float vector in there, X, Y, and Z would get the same value, which is correct, but that means everything would offset diagonally in 3D. Well, world position offset is based on world position. Displacement could be anything, you know. Displacement could be local. It's not really defined in any space. There are different names. It could be called world position displacement. You know, like those terms are pretty vague. It could be in any of those two. You know. But so how do we fix this? Well, first we need to get, like the Fresnel, if you guys remember, it uses the world position vertex normals, right? So you got the vertex normal world space, and I want to make sure that all these polys or all these verts are pointing outwards from the mesh normal. So all the mesh normals are actually originally pointing outwards, right? And I want to inherit that into this world position offset. So I would only just multiply this with the world position offset, plug that back in there, and then we should get a perfect circular displacement. There we go. So now you see that we're getting nice bumps where we should, exactly like the fire is doing, and now it looks kind of cool, and I kind of want to eat it. I don't know why, I just have an urge to take a bite of that for some reason. I don't know, it's like this fiery popcorn candy. It looks delicious. Let's just multiply that more. Let's do like, fuck it, 50. YOLO. YOLO, bros. Okay, that's way too shitty. Okay, so the problem here is that it's too low poly, right? So you need this. You need to have some tessellation in there. But it's a problem with tessellation. I don't remember why, but I had a problem with tessellation before with this sort of fire effect. All right. Alright, let's do it 0.05005. That's sweet. So I want to basically make the texture a bit bigger so I don't wreck the fucking structural integrity of this mesh because it's so low poly. So let's do it even smaller or bigger. Okay, that's way too. Alright, that's a little bit too little. Too little for me taste, yes. Let's do 9. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Wow, that looks like a bug eye or something. Alright, this is gonna look cool, so brace with me. Brace yourselves. Back to the pixel stage. Looks like a peach. I don't really want to take a bite of that. Doesn't even look dangerous anymore. Alright, now this looks cool. Check that out, guys. Oh yeah, procedural explosions. Based on world position, so hot, ready to go. So you can see that you have that growing explosion fume looking stuff happening right there. And then you can just, if you want to make it into an actual particle, then you should use, because the thing is in Unreal Engine, you have to render things in a particle shader differently than you do in a normal shader. It needs to be as a particle color. So you have this one here, and you have to have this node connected in your shader. So if, say, you want it to be in the emissive color, then you have to make sure that you multiply the color with that. And then if you want to be able to change the alpha, oh wait a minute, it's not even masked. Sorry. Opaque. Let's do additive. Because it's fire, right? So you want it to be additive. That's cool. And then you can actually use the opacity multiplied with the same noise. So basically this particle color will basically feed the particle system the right data to be able to use alpha and to be able to use color overlays and alpha fading in the particle cascade system. Yeah, you can give it a light. You can actually, I can show you here, in the particle systems in the Terminator Build-It Impact, you can use, I think I have it somewhere in the sparks. No, yes. Ah, there we go. So when I shoot every bullet, it will spawn a tiny bit of little light, and it has a that one. There's a light. You can just add a light, and then you can change the intensity and the spawn fraction, how often they would spawn, so you can keep it controlled. Don't have too many because it's super expensive. So be careful in that part. But just play the game. You can see that there's a little bit of light shining on his nose. I'm blue light, and that's the. And it's not every time. You see, it's like it's a fraction in there. It's like sometimes. Just to give a little bit of nice bluish hue. I don't know why this is addictive, but it's kind of good. I don't know. I just love to do this. Man, you guys have no idea how much time I spent just melting this dude's face off. It's kind of sad. Yeah, one interesting bit what I'm doing here, as you look at his teeth, it looks like the flesh is sort of semi-translucent. And I'm actually using alpha dithering, so it's not actually doing alpha blending, which would be expensive, or more expensive. But it doesn't really matter in this case because it's not overdraw. But I'm using dithering to make it look, because it has this pixelating, each pixel is completely transparent or doesn't exist, and then the other pixel next to it is completely opaque. That's what the dither does. It's a cheap way of doing fake alpha blending. And what helps it smooth it out is the temporal AA, the post-processing effect, which smoothes all the edges out, and also it smooths out the actual dithering, which is really smart. And I think it's a happy accident by the coders. They're like, we should just use that. It just works. So now almost all the games in the industries are using dithering a lot for vegetation and a lot of things that use a lot of transparency. Even glass people use dithering on. There we go. Now we got some sweet fire in there. What else? Can I hear myself? But yeah, Reddington, I would add a light in the particle system. You could add it in the... You can make it into an object and use like actors and blueprints and stuff like that. That's fine. You could totally do that. But yeah, that's all up to you, man. But you could do that. That's no problem. There's no problem. Yeah. All right. What else? That's cool. Yeah, there we go. So now you see, now it's additive and it's transmissive. And yeah, and if you want to make it interesting, you could also enter the post-process volume that I'm inside, and there should be some bloom settings. So you can set the, because the threshold is, okay, that's, there we go. So you can make it bloomy and nice and, so depending on the emissive strength, right? So if you have, I hope I didn't wreck my Terminators now. Yeah, look at that fucking metal now. Jesus. Lens flare, JJ Abrams, filter mode on. Oh my god. Alright. You can do, if you just multiply the emissive with like 5. And you would see just in here, it would just be much brighter and it would look more temperature-y. It would look warmer. But be careful with that, because then you start to crunching the values, then the colors start to get worse. You get less information. This is basically almost white now, or one single color. So you kind of don't want to do that too much, because otherwise you just lose a lot of color data. Now you got some interesting firiness happening. So you can do like quick explosions with this. It's pretty cool. It's nifty. And it's 3D, my bros. Shit, I sound like PewDiePie. Stop. Kill me now. One thing you could do now. So, the first problem you would notice is, man, look at these edges. Look terrible. Or if you like a pixel art game, or if you like to do like stylized, then that's fine. But if you kind of want to keep it realistic somehow, you could just do a traditional Fresnel and alpha the shit out of these edges. Let's do that really quickly. So you got the dot product. So you want to get the average between the vertex. Actually, I can just use this node as well. And I want the camera vector world space, world position. There you go. So I dot that. Let's just make it not stupid. There we go. And then I'll do a lerp. good. I'm good, man. I got this. If it wasn't for this wine, psh, I would be in a corner crying right now. Alright, so I got the opacity. So that's what I want, right? I want the edges of this sweet little peachy, creepy thing to have alpha on the edges. And then let's just try doing this, see what happens. Okay, we got something happening here. As you can see, when I start rotating the camera, it getting soft on the edges here, which is really nice. And that's what I want. Let's put that to 2 or 5. See what happens. Okay, I'll basically crunch the weight. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? Alright, so I need to do a power. So now, back to this. Jesus, that's a lot of lines. Alright. Oh, look at that sweet little thing happen there. It's cool. Did not... No. So, you have a linear curve, or a linear line, path, that looks like this. And if I add power to that, power of 2, then you would get this. Perfect rate. Damn, that's pretty good, man. Using a mouse. Don't judge, though. But this is a power of 2, so you can get an exponent doing this curve, which is really good. So if I add more power, let's say if it's 2, then it's this, right? If it's 1, then it's going to be the linear path. It's going to be the same. If I put 3, then it's going to start to be higher, you know, and etc. So you get higher and higher. And this is basically it won't wreck the actual color, so you'll get this nice curvature, which is good for color management. So if you want like these colors to be perfect, then you can actually use power to kind of like crunch them up instead of multiplying them, which just stacks them all into each other, which means that you're ruining a lot of color information. And that really works well in Substance as well. So put this in alpha here, and the opacity I need to be lerped with A. So it should be that first, and then it should look at the B. And I'm right. No, I'm wrong. It's like depends on the... There we go. So now I still have the alpha from the mask, so I can still alpha out these dark spots here. And now I have this nice softer edge to it. Let's put this power to a bit higher. Let's put it to 4. Alright. Oh, there we go. Well, we got some interesting... Okay, maybe that's way too much, but let's find out. Let's find out. Next time, tune in. No, I'm just kidding. Shit. Hello, sweet little fiery goodness. Boom. And that's the benefit of having thresholds on your bloom. So when it reaches to that perfect little contrast of color, like it gets that white point, then it starts to like blow up in your face. And it really simulates the cool effect. I mean, you can use this to do muzzle flashes too. Like if you want to get a muzzle flash in your game, and when it pauses the game and you rotate around the character, then you can get really interesting. Because it does work in world space, right? So you can like scale it at any axis, and it won't look fucked. Whoop. Yeah. Now it looks like a turd. A fiery turd. Now I won't take a bite of that. That's for sure. Fuck that. Yeah. Scandroid. I don't no idea, dude. Let's find out. Okay, so it's 115. Nope, it's Wave Shaper, I think. Here. Have that. Have that link. But yeah, that's see, you can do pretty interesting things in Unreal Engine with just using that noise node. Like without that noise node, I wouldn't be able to get that perfect perfect thing where I could mask it around, because this spherical shape, you see it has these poles, so which means if I use a traditional texture, you get this shitty pinching happening and it sucks. But this noise texture, since it's simplex noise, it's using some special triplanar projection, you know. So it's using some. It does, it does look like an ass right now. Just saying. That's a nice wireframe butt right there. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh, don't want to enter that too much. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you would get this bad stretching, and with this node, triplanar projection, so it projects from, it basically, alright, so you have sphere. So instead of putting a UV texture like that and map a sphere like you do here, the triplanar projection doesn't give a shit about your UVs. It just projects based on model space. So it projects texture here, here, and here. So it's the same from above here, but down here, so it's the mirrored one. But yeah, it's like this, and then it's the same effect here and the same effect here. So projects here, and then there, and then, you know, vice versa. And what's happening here is doing some blend function, just some simple lerp. And then you get this triplanar projection happening. And I think that's what the noise is doing. So that's why we don't care about these polar bullshit thing happening here, which is great. It's really good. And then you can just, you're ready to feed this in a particle system, and then you can start animating the scale and modulate the position, which is the scale. And then you're good to go. There's some different types of noises also you can choose. There's gradient texture based. Not exactly sure what the difference is. What the actual hell is happening? Ah, okay, it's too small. Never mind. Let's try Voronoi. Get some cracks. Come on. Think. Interesting, it's very slow. There we go. Well, that's pretty cool though, because Voronoi cell structure is pretty interesting. I'll put that to. I'm gonna save it and see how it looks in the game. Does Twitch save this whole video now? Like, does this save the whole thing as one file? That's pretty long though. Do you think that's gonna happen? I don't know. I don't understand Twitch. I know I'd record the videos that I streamed latest, but Jesus, what's the holdup, Unreal? The music and this waiting does not fit at all. Ah, weak. Okay. Well, I'll save that out and then upload it on YouTube ASAP. Ooh, you know what? That noise sucked. So, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do 1 minus, which is basically the subtract -1. So I'm basically gonna invert it now. And I'm interested how that looks. I guess that's gonna mess things up here and there, but you know what? I don't care. So, fuck it. Yeah. All right, let's make it sci-fi. Temperature is now not working because I can't use Come on. Alright, fuck it. Sorry. Sorry. I am not thinking anymore. I'm pretty tired and drunk, so I'm just... So now I inverted everything. So now you get this interesting flesh-like or nebula sort of thing happening. But it's cool because you get this nice stringy effects, right? And actually, that's how I do the flesh destruction on my Terminator. I'm using this sort of noise, and then I'm doing the masking depending on the height and everything, and I'm using the... because this looks pretty fleshy, and if you sample it pretty high. But this could be interesting if you do a space game, you know? Or like a force field shader effect when you shoot something and it will mask that area and do a shockwave on that specific area, and then you can do really interesting, like... it's pretty cool. Okay, man. Okay. Ooh, that's blue as hell. That's gonna blow up my screen. Woohoo! At Massive, I'm a technical artist, yes. And I do shaders, man. I do shaders, and I work with destruction a lot. So like a lot of destruction. It's more technical and like workflow and stuff like that. But I do a lot of shaders. That looks like a fucking blacklight, man. That's cool. My scene is completely black now because it's so bright, and that my HDR is fucked. Holy crap. That's some intense... why is it so intense? That's kind of scary. It's just... That is just fine. Oh, I'm multiplying it 5 times again. Let's not do that. Yeah, it does look cool though. Yeah, right. I have to show you one thing. It's really interesting. So, when you work with particles, that looks fucking awesome though. Actually, I think the Fresnel is too strong, the alpha Fresnel, so I'm gonna go back to like 2 or something. So you still want to get that nice edge. But yeah, destruction, shaders, a lot of that, Massive. It's fun, man. I get to do this sort of thing. I do a lot of prototyping as well. They put me on the R&D team, so I can do, like, you can just set me free basically, and I just do whatever I want. So I end up shit like this basically. Yeah. But the problem here is this, right? This looks terrible. So if you have particles and you want these 3D explosions to blow up on, you know, side of corners or walls, or you want to see it happen around objects, then you can't have this. It's pretty simple. You just have this depth fade. You can just actually just use that. That's it. That's literally it. Sorry. And that's the fade distance. That's the pixel distance. How many pixels? I think. No wait. World space distance over which fade should take place. It's Unreal units. Yeah, I work a lot with experimenting. I do get a lot of stuff in the end, which is cool. So I do feel like I'm contributing. So it's not just some dead end shit. I just, you know, make shit and never comes in the game. Like in Division, I did all the trash bag deformation. What else? I worked a lot with the destruction, with the brick destruction. Yeah, we worked a lot with nodes. Sometimes I work a lot with HLSL as well, so it's just pure shader code. Sometimes I need to do that when I work with like more deep shaders like water or stuff like that. Then I gotta get into the nitty gritty, so to say. Let's try 100. Check this out. Oh yeah, nice and soft. So you can change that distance. You can see that the edge is right there. But it's much softer now. And it doesn't look all terrible. Holy crap, you know what, guys? I just realized something. This looks like the Terminator bubble too. The bubble of time. So I could actually use this as a particle effect as well on top of that. So when that grows and shrinks, I'll just have this much crisp, and it looks like this could totally be like a lightning, you know, like a lightning effect. So if I just crunch that up, you know. Oh god damn it! Why is the object so fucking small here? So I could probably. I want to go negative. Minus one. I think should go. Should be sharper now. Actually, I could just do this. Could just pow that. So I do the same thing. No, not this. Never mind. The power graph. You remember this, right? No, this way. Woo! That shit. Yeah. Quick. So I'm doing that now. On this. On the whole main thing. So all that shit will now be powered up. Oh shit. Oh look! That's fucked. That's the vertex displacement is also getting fucked now because I'm just messing up the mask. But this is where it starts to get weird. Probably gonna get to. What the fuck? Alright guys, now I'm officially fucked. I can't just do that. Well, I can. Just not use. Fuck it. Skip that shit for now. Yeah, kind of a black hole, right? I think so too. There's some interesting things you can do with the blueprint. You can make two objects depend on each other in the shader. Two separate objects, like two separate entities. So if, let's say, a sphere gets close to the other sphere, sphere 2 would get sucked in to the sphere 1, depending on the distance when it should get sucked in. That's really cool. You can do like actual black hole spaghettifying shader, you know? But I think this could work with the bubble, like this sort of lightning thingy happening while it's like growing and shrinking. Looks like one of those electric balls you have when you were a kid, when you put your hands on it, you know? It's pretty interesting. I'll put some more position in there. Okay, what the hell? Displacement much? Yeah, but the thing is, you just make it into a parameter, you know. What? Oh, I can't make I have to do. Yeah, sorry, I'm an idiot. You have to make a parameter like that, and then you can modulate that as instance instead, which is better because then I have to resave the whole thing every fucking time. But I kind of want that noisiness happening in there, and I don't want it to be too strong. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in there. That's what she said. Okay, now it's interesting. Now it's some artifact bubble thing happening here. Oh man, that's messing with my mind right now. Is this even? I don't know. Nine. Where is there in here? Is it in here? I know it's in the, should be in here, right? Fuck, I forgot. Am I skip? Oh, there we go. Oh, really? Cool. Alt 4? If you, dude, if you wrote Alt F4, I probably would press that too. I can't get it to work. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's terrible. That's because you got two meshes inside each other now, and they're overdrawing, you know. It does look cool though. It's refracting the actual. Yeah. Expensive. Well, if it's here, then it's pretty bad because then you get a pretty much a full screen pass of like 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of vertex planes, basically. That's what's happening right now. So if you have like let's say a battle, because I'm always like basing my expensive facts based on gameplay. I have 0 gameplay, so this I don't really care. But if I make a game, that this is a problem. Because then you got particle effects, which is also alpha blending. They're also stacking, and you got everything at the same time, you know. And it's just not so good. That looks neato though, gotta say. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the mesh was more dense, then it would be worse, you know? Because then it means every pixel has more polys to check. That's, yeah, you know, you get it. So every poly plane could be imagined as one particle plane, you know? So if you had like multiple stacked particle planes, then it would be expensive. So but if you have, it's the same thing with the mesh. Like if you're using it as transparency, as transparent object, then that's a problem. That's gonna be a problem. I gotta save everything, by the way, before I crash it. Yeah. I think I'm gonna quit now. I need to head out. But I'll probably stream something more next week. And I'll upload this video on YouTube as soon as I shut this thing down. I love you all, guys. Fucking awesome, and I really appreciate you watching this stuff. I had no clue what I was doing after like the first 10 minutes, and then I winged everything. So I just hope there was some useful facts in there that you guys could use. I will continue doing these random ass streams. I don't think I need an agenda. I'm just gonna open it up and just start doing stuff, because I think, man, I don't like boundaries, man. You know, I just suck at it. That's why they let me free and at work, even, you know, like they let me do my thing, and it works. And thank you again. Awesome. I'm so happy. I never had this many people watching anything when I stream, because I tried to make a gaming channel, but that never worked out. So this apparently is cool. Thank you. Much love. Much fucking love. I'll send a link on the YouTube video later of this whole stupid stream. Thank you, guys. I'm so psyched. This is gonna make my, this made my whole week, man. Oh man. I'm not crying, I just have a cold. Sorry. Alright, yeah. I'm gonna stop streaming. See ya!